Okay, so I'm Maester Rosa Marcella out of Antir. I'm Order of the Defense. So you had the Order of the Bronze Ring from the Mid Realm, Order of the Cavendish Knot, and AOA all from the Mid Realm. I'm actually second generation. My dad is also a Master of Defense. As far as I know, there's like only two people out there with second generation Master of Defense. I don't remember. I've only been in the Kingdom of Antir for the last 5 years, but I've been doing SCA for 30 years. Um, Drachenwald was the biggest kingdom we participated in, and when I actually started fencing with epées and foils, because that's what was legal. And then this is actually more of a new thing that I've created. I took this class with um, Master Alexander de Seaton in the middle when I was 17 out an event, and he called it "Don't Look at the Fish." I actually changed the name to Mindspace, and looking at how not to get distracted in the tourney field. We call them list fields, Eric's out in Ontario, whatever you call the field that you have the tournament in. So the Don't Look at the Fish started with Master Alexander de Seaton, Order of the Pelican, Order of the Bronze Ring. The reason he called it this is he had an actual fish that was anatomically correct, made out of PVC pipe foam and duct tape that actually created the color. The funniest part about that fish was he didn't even have to have it in the field because he did, as I call them, dirty old man tricks. People would talk about the fish and wonder where the fish is, and he would wait until the talking stopped, and bam, he would wait for lay on, distract you, and then he would hit you in the face. Because it's such a good distraction, my dad and I have actually taken a lot more thought into it. I've watched what other people have taught. Recently, the champion of Drachenwald, I watched his video. I've also watched Maestra Illidor's video on her class she taught. This one is a development that I finally wrote down 2-3 years ago, but I've usually taught it on the side of a list field. So this is what I've put the definition for me, and then I'll get into the actual Hicks law about it. I used to do it based off of like thinking of a little flash drive. I did this mind space is about the mental space you have free in your head. Hicks law, or Hick-Hyman law, is named after a British and American psychologist team of William Edmund Hick and Ray Hyman. In 1952, this pair set out to examine the relationship between the number of stimuli present and the individual's reaction time to any given stimulus. And then you can read more about it. I just did a quick expert from at the end. I do have it cited. The rest of this is all from my own experience, but this was the one thing that got pointed out to me. As you would expect, the more stimuli to choose from, the longer it takes the user to make a decision on which to interact with. Users bombarded with choices have to take time to interpret and decide, giving them work they don't want. Published by Soagard in 2020. So I've kind of taken this based off of other mental things that we just have in our normal distractive life. Like I said, I've done this. I've been fighting for 25 years, been part of the SCA for 30. I did karate when I was 8, so I've actually been fighting for 27 years. Karate, heavy fighting, cut and thrust, and rapier fighting. Nothing professional per se, but I've been Kingdom Rapier Champion twice in the middle. This year I was second in the Queen's Rapier Champion and on tier. So I've taken a lot of time at looking at distractions, because we do a lot of drilling with footwork, but we don't do a lot of drilling with mental work. And one of the big things that my dad and I have always said to people is never, 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 please go into a list field thinking you're losing against big names. So it's so and so. We actually, we try teaching. It's like anyone can have a bad day, but you don't know what's in their mind that distracts anybody. So I've created a list of distractions, and it says, look at your distractions before you enter a list field. What is distracting you? Is it the scarf, the collar, the name? Like, how about what is going on at home? Are you worried about finances? Are your kids getting in trouble? Are you getting sick? All these things can fill up your head and distract you. And I pulled another quote from George Silver, that a brand new fighter that probably isn't distracted as much as us are even harder to fight because they don't know what they're doing. So they have less things to worry about, where a more experienced fighter is going to be distracted because he's going to want to throw who knows what and trying to get his best game on. So these are just basic examples. I've recently been going to a psychologist for my own mental health. So a big thing is my mental anxieties and my mental depression that can really cause my tournament style and how I fight in the field for that day. I actually have my best friend distract me and make me laugh before I fight as my inspiration, because it helps to distract me and focus on the fight and not focus on how the fight could turn out. Other examples of this could be allergies. I had such a bad allergy attack at a crown once that I stopped fighting and marshaling and started marshaling because I just couldn't breathe and just didn't want to hurt anyone. You lost something at home, or the big bad white scarf and now the big bad master of defense, or a hot stick that's soon to be. Went out partying too late last night, or just didn't sleep well because you're camping. Just a home fight, other things, weather, size of the Eric really influences a lot of people. I know that. And total number of fighters. Are you practicing as much as you think you should? A lot of these, and this list could go on forever for what type of distractions out there. As a quote, let my thoughts pass like leaves in a river. So I kind of took this quote on how, now that we are aware that our mind is distracted, I want to get into examples of what you can do to help you, of at least what I've tried to do, and I've talked to other people of what they do, like listen to music or other things. First thing that I'll teach is usually how to clear your head before a fight. So you would stick your blade out, full extension, but no lunge, just extension. And I kind of have it shown down here. It's farther than I thought. I thought those were circles. I'm sorry. Wow, I did not realize those turned into squares. They were circles on my other page. I'm sorry, that should be way better. I'll have to fix that. Anyways, so B is supposed to be a circle, and then A, B are supposed to be circles. And I'll go back up to here and kind of let you read that too. So I'm supposed to be making two circles and trying to create a Venn diagram. I don't know if how I saved it for one document didn't quite make it to this document, but what you're doing is you are the center of your universe. You are the center of your world. When anyone comes into extension of where your sword point is, you kind of want to treat it like they're an invader. So you either get out of their area or you get them out of your area. It's kind of a way to kind of meditate and kind of set a boundary. It helps, to me, it helps kind of understand where my space is, and then I really can look at the guy in the sword fight. Some people like joking around and playing with guys, seeing which sword is taller. That does help if you're trying to just curious about how there's certain other little mental tricks you can do to get people to kind of show you their measure. But that's not really what this class is about. This is more about clearing your headspace. So that's a whole nother avenue we could go down later. So what this example was supposed to be was A and B were supposed to be circles, and then I was supposed to have them kind of into each other to really show that how the circles, how it's like a Venn diagram. Second thing to help with my space, try not to think about things going on outside the fight. So much easier said than done. Especially when this is just a game and things going on in your life are super distracting, like got in a fight with your significant other, or you were coming in, you had everything planned and you got a flat tire. So many outside influences can really cause your mind's game to just be screwed up. A lot of people will take a deep breath. Very, very few people can I actually say can just let go what is going on in the outside world as they step into Eric. But the less distractions you have, the better. This is where I've kind of taught with the idea of, I know they don't really exist anymore, but like a 1 gigabyte flash drive. And you fill half of it with life stuff, and then you only have half for tournament stuff. So as you, and like the law said, depending on the number of stimulus you have going on in the world will also depend on how easy it is for you to react. Another thing to kind of help with mind space is ignore everything about your opponent. If you don't, there's a high chance that your opponent's already won. Big bad scarf in front of you has already beaten you because you've never touched him before. That new guy that shows up that's just wiping everyone in the tournament, those guys have won more fights because of getting into people's minds over just the fact that they have skill. A lot of them are fast fighters and are able to get that one shot, but if you really just kind of, and I still do it to this day, I still have people constantly that get in my headspace, in my mind space, to try to not be as distracted so I can give him my best fight. Does it always work? No, I get hit, blame myself later, try not to, but we all do it. And fourth thing about helping with mind space, which I also still have more examples at the bottom, never go into list field thinking you have lost already. If you do this, then yes, you are going to probably lose. I've seen it happen so many times with my friends that there's just too many ways to not do that, but it's one of those things that if Big Hot Shot or the King's Rapier Champion or Queen's Rapier Champion or brand new mod shows up, my provost, a lot of people do screw up. Oh my gosh, what is happening? There we go. So here are some things that I've wrote down about how so you've entered the field, you've already tried to clear your space, your mind, you've already tried to walk in and Do what you can before getting on the field and when you're in the field. Duke Ronwalder of the middle actually taught me this one when I was younger. After each pass, you want to do something that resets yourself. We get way too, sorry, we get way too stuck in muscle memory that when you are doing a bunch of passes and you're just ending in a stalemate, it is such a good idea to step out of measure. Pretend like your pommel's loose, or you need to check your hilt, like it sounds like it's rattling. You don't need to really do any of these things, but the mental psychology of the other person is actually going to stop, be concerned, but you're already resetting and you say, oh no, I'm okay. I've done this countless times on the list field because it helps me reset. It helps me get out of the muscle memory pattern that I've had and fighting someone, because if you don't, which I learned at a young age, you both are going to just keep fighting the same. Another thing that doesn't really clear your mind space but kind of gives you ahead of the game, looking at your opponent's front foot or a dominant foot. It kind of helps if he's pointing to the side or either side. That's usually where his tip's going to shoot. So that can kind of help you with your mind space, because then you know, without even him giving a tell, that if that person's toe is pointed bad, also watch your toe, because that could distract you. It could cause bad knee injuries. It's kind of one of those things I've been kind of throwing in there because a lot of people have bad toe issues and knee issues that I've had and went to physical therapy to fix, which have been great. Less distraction, less hurting. Another thing while you're in the list field, go around and check for debris, look for potholes. If you know where the terrain's bad, it's a lot easier to avoid that terrain. It causes a little bit of distraction, but it's a lot easier to know, like, oh, there's a dip there, so I don't want to hit that dip. So usually, even if a marshal says, oh, there's something over there, I still try to track it as a marshal, as just a self-conscious type of person that I really don't want to twist an ankle. I've slid on dry grass at Penzic and pulled both of my thigh muscles really bad, which has caused huge knots in my muscles, and why I have to do physical therapy once in a while. And also learned that at an older age, stretching is important. Again, I keep iterating this and I hit it maybe a little too much. Ignore your opponent's status. I will say it over and over again. And ignore your opponent. Some other things. So I did another quote, this one from Sun Tzu. Victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. That to me always took as if you go in defeated, but you try to win, it's a lot harder than if you go in, and as I taught earlier, if I go in knowing, don't care about the outcome, is a lot easier than going in wanting to win to me and not thinking I can win. If I go in there knowing I'm confident in my skill and I know what I can do, I have a way, way higher chance of coming out victorious than if I ever try to go in there, as I will beat it to the ground, like just telling people how important it is. Your opponent may have a bad day and he could be distracted by any number of these things. Here's some other examples, just kind of things that people have done to clear their mind. Meditate. Some people listen to music. I pace. People try to talk to me when I get on my game face. I'm like, nope, just pacing, leave me alone. And they're like, okay. Um, my best ever fight was at Penzic War Kingdom Champions for the middle. I was the coach that year, and we needed someone to fight the Queen's Rapier champion for the East. Well, I was like, don't let me know. I don't want to know I'm going. I don't want to warm up. This fight, I kind of finally figured out how I fought. Well, so they surprised me, and I get to fight the Queen's Rapier champion of the East. I'm like, oh, okay. Walked out there, total confidence. He came out case, I came out buckler. He was down in 2 minutes. Best fight I ever had a blast. We all laughed, went back, sat back down, and went back to my coaching job. But it was something I needed to do so I didn't overthink my opponent. So I didn't overthink, because the East and the Mid had very good notes on each of their opponents. So we kind of wrote down how they fought, what they fought with, and those get really distracting when, like I've stated before, if I know my opponent, for me is horrible. Some people want to know their opponent. Some people just sit down, don't warm up, talk to friends. Also, the other thing is, which I got from the Kingdom Rapier or heavy champion of Drachenwald, was don't think about what you can do, what you could have done to this point. You've already trained, you're in the tournament now, you can't think about what you could have done. And as I've always taught, and I forget which swordmaster, I think it was Silver, I'm not sure. Your style of fighting is your style of fighting. You do what works for you. I can't tell you how to clear your head. I can't tell you ways to what works best for you. If listening to music is the best idea, if meditating is the best idea, I don't know. We're all different on how we clear our headspace. I've had to deal with a lot of anxiety lately. So to deal with that, I've really had to sit down and talk to my friend and get it out of my head and know that I can go in there. And now I've thrown on a whole other slew of things with transitioning, that I'm going to have different adrenaline. I'm going to have different effects going through my body, that I am so ready for the sword year to start up again, because it's going to be a whole different mindset that I'm going to even add more to this list of, as I'm going from male to female, the whole different aspects of knowing that adrenaline is totally different. It's going to distract me. I can't just go hot, cold maybe anymore. And then you can take all of these things that I have told you to get out of your head, and just as a little bonus, I threw in here how to get it into your opponent's head. Talk to your opponent. Best distraction ever. A lot of the older bronze rings in the middle, white scarves out here. Love to talk to their opponent. Those are my favorite, because I know they're trying to distract me on purpose. And when Leon goes, I just kill them. But it's a great way to get them distracted. Ask them how their day is, what's going on. They love to talk, and then you can usually stab them in the head. Move a lot. This is I found out recently from Gareth out here, that if you move a lot, it's a very Fabris move. And I like doing that because I don't like giving tempo. Don't let them reset. As I told you to reset, if you don't allow your opponent to reset, but you can find micro ways of resetting yourself, it gives you gives yourself kind of that leeway. And then as a joke, I said, be that so and so, be that person that gets into that person's head. I've been learning a lot about what distracts my students. And then again, that really goes to point 5 of don't think about what you could have done to this point. A lot of training, doing your basic training at practice is probably one of the other best ways you can lessen distractions. Again, everything to me is what works for you. So if anyone, I can still record, or I can stop recording and just ask questions. I'll stop recording.